Okay, so I want to talk about networks. Like I know that entrepreneurs know this, that networking is key and meeting people is key. So I want to know how you guys maintain or create your networks. Like what is it that you do specifically?
So I learned this directly from Kevin, my co-founder and husband, and he does this brilliantly, and it's something that I have had to learn, and I think it comes to him naturally. But it's more about opening yourself up to input and feedback and asking questions. So he's the kind of guy who will walk into a store and say, "What should I wear?" And I mean, it is a field day, and you know, there have been some moments at Barney's where I'm like, "Oh no, we're not going with this out. This look is not going to work." But he wants to know what people think. He wants to know their feedback, and I use that sort of in jest, but this actually applies to everything that we've done at Eventbrite, which is that we immediately asked people for input. So the earliest adopters of Eventbrite were techies. They were techies who were using Eventbrite, which was a very rudimentary RSVP system in the beginning, to meet up with one another, right? We could generally say we were the early meetup. But they started to, we asked them for their feedback. We asked them to always tell us when something went wrong. And I think it's kind of hard to do that in practice. It's easy to say, but it's hard to actually receive the feedback, then put that feedback into action and continually go back to the well, right? Because sometimes it's hard to hear that feedback. We apply it to advisors and investors that we've gotten to come on board. I think that the internal optimism of the entrepreneur allows you to kind of keep going out and seeking more people to give you feedback, and actually people like to be asked for their feedback. So the next step is to see if they want to become an advisor or be an investor in your company, and gee, that makes them feel really good. And then all of a sudden you have this incredible wealth and community and sort of village around you of people who have a vested interest. Maybe it's because you've made a connection with your company where they do want to really help you and they want to give you feedback, and it's about taking all that data and then funneling it in the right direction. And that's basically what Kevin does day in and day out, and I've learned it from him. And I think we also run Eventbrite that way, where we're always looking for feedback. We get so many data inputs every day from users, whether it be through our support team or through Twitter or through Facebook or through verbal conversations that we're having. And our first question is, what didn't work for you? We always want to hear that, and I think that's how we really build that support system. And I think that's how you find those people who turn out to be your mentors, or I call them Obi-Wans, but those people who really guide you. And it can be in quite literally the most unsuspecting places. I mean, we were raising our first round of funding and went out to all the VCs, and one of the things to do back then, I don't know if they still do it now, but they all brought in their EIRs, so their entrepreneur in residences, to sort of vet us. And so we had Jeff Fleur from StubHub come in with Sequoia and sit in our pitch, and this other venture fund had this guy Sean Moriarty as their EIR, who had just joined because he had just left Ticketmaster as their CEO. And I'll never forget when they called and said, "We want to send Sean Moriarty over to visit you," and I was like, okay, like. Fast forward, that fund, we didn't go with that fund. We did ask him to be an advisor. Then we asked him to be on our board of directors. Then it got even more sort of crazy. He now sits in our office 2 days a week because he's looking for his next CEO gig. I think we're sort of inhibiting that, but he's helping us on a day-to-day basis do what we do and being that mentor that sits quite literally next to us. And so it was the most unsuspecting place for us to find that. And if we hadn't taken the meeting, we never would have found him and created that relationship. So, at any rate, that was
showing
I mastered long-windedness.
No, I love it.
Did you go sleep?
No, I love it.
It's going to be a
That's
contest.
great. That's great. It's interesting. I mean, you remind me of, I think, an absolute truism in the world we're living in, that is one-way conversations are over. And great struggle we're having in politics is we're having one-way conversations. It's still a broadcast model. Just think about, when we talk about technology, in this book I've been working on, sort of came from the frame how effectively we use technology to amplify people's voices to get elected, and how quickly we turn those voices off because they get in the way of governing. I recall 4 years ago, almost to the day, when President Obama just came off that remarkable campaign, myBarackObama.com endeavor with 35,000 communities that self-organized, and everyone wanted to keep that going. And they sponsored a big town hall to keep people's voices engaged. And the president went out and said, well, what's on your mind, folks? What do you want me to focus on? 2 wars, war on terrorism, climate change, the impending challenges of a fiscal crisis? No. The dominant thing that the community wanted to see happen was legalize marijuana. And the president, you may recall, 4 years ago, made some flippant comment about it, and that was not well received by the community. That blew back and said, no, we're not kidding. And he immediately turned off the site. It literally went down that week, never to be reignited until the campaign had a new iteration. And all of a sudden, your voices matter. We want to build this new version of MyBarackObama.com 2.0. And interestingly, now he's struggling to figure this out. Remember, they did the petition site a few months ago, and all of a sudden, guys like Piers Morgan had 100,000 petitions to send him back to the UK, and they said they would, after 5,000 petitions, the White House would respond. So they were forced to respond to a CNN newscaster whether or not he should be deported, and they realized, man, this petition stuff, this two-way conversation is a little bit complex, and so they raised the threshold. I don't know if you saw this a week ago, of petitions in response to that, because, well, two-way conversations sound great, but again, in practice, they're difficult. So it's a long-winded point. This is the great struggle we're all having with our customers, with so many inputs, is how we engage in a substantive conversation, because people want to be asked, and when they're asked, they're happy to participate, but you got to be prepared for that. If you're not willing to engage substantively, then you're going to lose folks. Don't even ask if you're not willing to have that engagement. I think that becomes sort of a predicate for building a network and building a community and having that support. So this is just something we're all struggling with.
I think